The text hit my phone at 3:17 a.m., buzzing through the stillness of our Boston brownstone like a jolt of electricity. I squinted at the screen, the harsh blue glow slicing through the pre-dawn dark. Maybe Mark figured I'd be out cold, or maybe the 13-hour time gap from Bali had scrambled his brain. Either way, his words practically danced with smug delight. Sold our Cape Cod beach house. Drained our savings. Starting fresh with Lauren. Enjoy the streets, lol. Don't call, new number tomorrow. I stared, unblinking, the light painting my face in eerie shadows. After 30 years of marriage. This was his farewell, a text message capped with a mocking LOL. I set the phone on the nightstand, took a slow breath, and let the reality sink in. My name's Ellen Harper, 52 years old. And I never saw myself rebooting life from scratch. Then again, I never pegged my husband of 3 decades to clean out our accounts and bolt with his 29-year-old gym buddy. Though if I'm honest, the signs have been flashing for months. It started last spring. Mark's sudden obsession with getting fit. For years he brushed off my nudges about doctor visits with a scoff. Then, out of nowhere, he joined some upscale gym, vanishing for 2-hour workouts 3 times a week. By summer it was daily and he'd shed 30 pounds. You should be thrilled. He'd bark whenever I raised an eyebrow at the skyrocketing credit card bills. I'm finally taking care of myself. Soon came the locked accounts, hushed phone calls, and business trips that magically synced with Lauren's sun-kissed Instagram posts from identical spots. I'm not the type to storm and yelling. As a hospital administrator, I thrive on precision, watching, documenting, planning. So I didn't confront him. I got smart. I tracked every move, built a case, and looped in experts. When Mark casually dropped that he was off to Bali for a solo wellness retreat, I knew it was go time. My lawyer and I had been prepping for this exact moment. I grabbed my phone again and fired back. Check your balance. I could see it. Mark lounging in some ritzy villa, Lauren draped beside him. Both smirking like they'd pulled off the heist of the century. I pictured his smug face crumbling when he logged in and saw nothing. Well, not quite nothing. Alerts from the emergency court orders I'd filed 3 weeks earlier, locking down every cent after proving his affair and his plot to leave me broke. The successful transfer he bragged about? Intercepted, frozen, and stashed in a court-supervised vault. He wouldn't check right away. Mark's arrogance was bulletproof. He'd assume his scheme was airtight. I brewed some tea, settled at my desk, and flipped open the folder labeled Mark, Evidence. Inside was my masterpiece. 6 months of meticulous records that had saved our family's future. It started with the credit card statements. $500 a week at Elite Fitness Solutions, no explanation. Mark, who'd once nitpicked every grocery receipt, didn't bat an eye. Then the cash grabs, $2,000 here, $3,000 there, always just shy of triggering bank alerts. I'd called my lawyer Sarah first. Document everything, she'd said. If he's scheming, we need proof. So I did. Photos of statements, logs of withdrawals, copies of our deeds, including the beach house my family had owned for generations. A forensic accountant uncovered a secret account Mark had opened 3 months back. The clincher? Draft emails to a realtor about quietly unloading the beach house. My beach house. The real gut punch came when I overheard him. I'd come home early with a migraine, resting upstairs, when his voice drifted from his office, low, intimate, the tone he used to save for me. Lauren, baby, it's all falling into place. The beach house'll sell fast. Ellen's clueless. Once the money hits, I'll shift it offshore. By the time she catches on, we'll be sipping cocktails in Bali. I froze, heart pounding, as my husband plotted to strip me bare. Next day, I took it all to Judge Carter. She'd seen enough dirtbags like Mark to spot the playbook. The emergency order came down fast, assets frozen, transfers flagged. Now as dawn crept through the curtains, my phone buzzed again. A banking alert. Someone was poking at the accounts from an international IP. Mark was finally looking. 15 minutes later it rang, his number unchanged despite the threat. I let it buzz 4 times, steadying myself, then answered. Ellen, what the hell did you do? His voice was raw, fury laced with fear, paradise slipping through his fingers. Good morning, Mark. I said coolly. Notice the accounts, huh? This is my money, he roared. You had no right to our money, I cut in. From 30 years of marriage. For our retirement, our kids' future. I'll fight this, he hissed, voice dropping. I could see him ducking away from Lauren, hiding the meltdown. You won't win. I already have, I replied. Judge Carter loved the recording your little, leave Ellen with nothing speech. Oh, and the beach house sale? Cancelled. Buyers backed off when they got the court order. Silence. Just his jagged breathing and Lauren's voice rising in the background, sharp and annoyed. That her? I asked. Tell her the offshore account's locked too. Tax evasion flags are up. You've been spying, he sputtered, hollowed out. No, I've been protecting what's mine from your betrayal. Big difference. Lauren's shouting spiked. What did you promise me? Their fantasy imploding live. Court's set for Monday, I said. Show up or don't. Your passport's flagged. You can leave Bali, but good luck landing anywhere but here. Click. I hung up as their argument hit fever pitch. The next 48 hours were a slow-motion train wreck. Mark called 17 times. I picked up once, redirecting him to Sarah, our kids, Jack, 27, and Sophie, 24. Knew it all, I'd broken it to them days earlier. Their hurt nearly shattered me, but they stood firm. By evening, Mark's brother David rolled in, a lawyer and my surprise lifeline. You nailed it. Ellen, he said, spreading my evidence across the table. This is ironclad. Then came the twist, an email from Lauren, Mrs. Harper, Mark lied. Said the beach house was his inherited. And you'd agreed to split. I'm done with him. David smirked. Rats fleeing the ship. I forwarded it to Sarah, no reply needed. By morning, the accountant reported Mark's frantic overnight attempts to crack the accounts. Each logged, each damning. He's toast, Sarah said. Judges hate this stuff. Later, the realtor confirmed Mark had tried bullying them into pushing the beach house sale despite the order. Another nail in his coffin. Jack and Sophie joined me for dinner, still reeling. Enjoy being homeless? Sophie muttered. Who does that? Someone who thought he'd won, David said. Then news. Mark booked a flight back. He'd land tomorrow. The legal dance was on. Sarah had papers ready at customs. David's colleague texted updates. Mark's here. Looks wrecked. No Lauren. Served. The hearing was next. I sat tall beside Sarah. Jack and Sophie behind me, David a bridge between sides. Mark shuffled in, a shell of the cocky guy who'd left for Bali. Judge Carter didn't mince words. I've seen the texts, the recordings. The offshore plans. Don't insult me with excuses. Mark's lawyer tried. She shut him down. The accountant laid out $87,000 siphoned over months. The realtor testified. Mark's devices sealed it, his own words, his doom. On the stand, he played remorseful. A midlife crisis, Your Honor. I didn't mean it. You texted her to enjoy homelessness, Carter snapped. To impress your girlfriend? He wilted. 3 hours later, she ruled. Assets stay frozen. Mark in contempt, passport gone. I got the house and beach house for now. You're lucky she caught you. Carter told him. 6 months later, divorce done. I sipped tea on the Cape Cod deck. Sunset blazing. I kept the beach house, mine by right, plus 70% of our savings. Mark got a car and scraps. He'd lost his job, teaching at a community college now. Lauren. On to her next mark in Florida. A year after that text, I stood at Boston University, speaking to 200 people at financial security after betrayal. Preparation isn't paranoia, I said. It's power. Jack, Sophie, and David cheered from the front. A woman grabbed my hand after. My husband's plotting the same. You saved me. I drove home to Cape Cod, peace settling in, not from Mark's fall, but from the strength I'd forged. Cruelty didn't break me. Resilience did.